I'm always entirely thankful to the UFC because without them, nobody would have any idea who I was. Not a clue.
What's your strategy for handling all of the negativity?
You know, how many accounts are there on Twitter? 2.5 billion. So if I get 20 or 30 or 40 people talk shit, if I catch one of these people one day, it won't be pretty.
Hey guys, Laura Sanko here. Today I have a very special guest, referee Marc Goddard. He is one of the best in the game, and he has agreed to give us some of his time. I'm anxious to pick his brain about not only how he got here, but maybe clarify a couple things that I'm always wondering when I'm watching fights. So Marc, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you. How can I help?
Well, I want to start off with you, actually. I don't think everybody realizes that you had a pretty substantial MMA career yourself, 14 pro fights. So how did you transition from professional fighter to professional referee?
Really simple story, actually. 2004. So weirdly enough, this year is my 20th year as a ref. Like I said, I've been in MMA since just before turn of the millennium, so 25 years really. But my journey to being a referee was completely by accident, which I believe is the best things. I believe in fate, and I think that's how the best things in life work out. So, cut a long story short, 2004, I was due to fight at an event. It was my friend that was putting it on, or a friend of mine was a gym owner. I got injured, pulled out, couldn't fight. When I got to the event, the referee or the second ref pulled out and said, I'm not doing it. So my friend come to me and went, Marc, you're reffing. And I was like, what the fuck? What? I didn't have any time to think about it. I just jumped in at that show back then, 2004. And then pretty quickly afterwards, most people should know the name Cage Warriors, you know, over 20 years, 21, 22 years old in the United, an absolute mainstay of European MMA. For again, I think it's fate driven. Something happened like the week or 2 weeks following that inherent debut by me as a ref, and they called me in, and I've been with Cage Warriors ever since. I've been with Cage Warriors longer than any promotion, over 20 years now. And then it all just, I had things going side by side at the time. I was still competing. I went down in weight. I was doing a lot of different things. And then it just kind of snowballed, and it all went from there. And I was working for more and more promotions. Then when the UFC came back, they were on the back of Michael Bisping winning the Ultimate Fighter. They went on a huge, went about late 07, 2008. They went on a massive European expansion, and they actually contacted me, and they picked me up from there. And I actually made my referee debut with the UFC in my hometown of all places, Birmingham, UFC 89, 2008. So I'm 16 years now with the UFC, all around the world, twice and back again. And it's an amazing story.
It is an amazing story. And I love stories like that where it wasn't necessarily all planned out. It was fate, like you say, kind of intervening and creating that path for you. Very cool. I know you've obviously, as you said, been involved with Cage Warriors forever. Of course, this fan base largely knows you from the UFC. Where else do you ref currently?
All over the world.
Yeah.
You know, people understand that. And it's a good point you made there, because I was talking the other day, I was talking to Mike Perry. I was doing his podcast. Yeah. He's a good guy, man. We had a right blast. And we were talking, and, you know, I was explaining the same thing, saying about, you know, I'll work officials, referees, judges, we're entirely independent. You know, we can work for who we want, but you're not people think, you know, you're a UFC ref. Yes, that's fantastic. That's how people know my name. You know, if you follow the sport, or you follow UFC and a certain genre, yes, you'll know me. And that's how other promotions, that's why I always shout out the UFC. I'm always entirely thankful to the UFC, because without them, nobody would have any idea who I was. Not a clue. So when it comes to working for other promotions, like I said, in other parts of the world, there's a direct contact with them. You know, you'll see me work, and like I said, China, India, in Europe, extensively in Europe, Octagon, KSW, Cage Warriors, UAE Warriors over in United Arab Emirates. The list goes on and on. You know, like I said, generally for the UFC, not only are they covering the world, but when you see us in the United States or South America, Canada, that's done, like I said, by the commissions, but via the UFC. So it's the list is long and deep and varied, and it has been for many years. I've worked for so many promotions all over the globe, and that's what I love about the freedom to do that. You know, like I said, UFC gave us the platform for people to know us. Very thankful for that. Extremely fortunate. Not lucky. Don't call me lucky. You know, I've worked hard 20 years, you know, to get to this point, but I'm always so thankful. And I always class myself as extremely fortunate to do what I do.
I'm just sitting here trying to calculate what level of status you must have on certain airlines. It's got to be quite impressive.
Well, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I generally use two airlines. One for going. I use British Airways for going west. So I
Uh-huh.
use all that for, you know, North America, South America, all the time with the UFC. But I have to go to London because in my hometown of Birmingham, although I do fly with Emirates, Emirates are pretty cool too.
They
And I
are.
use them for the Middle East and further. So Australia, Singapore, China, you know, New Zealand, all those kind of shows. I can use Emirates because they fly out of my hometown airport. So there's generally two airlines that I have equal status with. It goes to show you how many miles we're doing. And
Yeah, if
that's
you ever
not business class miles
no.
either.
If you ever
That's the
travel with
hard yards.
someone who travels as much as Mark does, I can assure you they have it all figured out. They have it all figured out. When you ref in Asia in particular, sometimes that would be under the global rule set then, wouldn't it? And I know the judging can obviously be quite different. Is the reffing different with the global rule set?
What do you mean global rule set, Laura?
The non-unified rules of MMA, the one that I think is ONE FC uses it.
I haven't worked with ONE FC before, and generally, any promotion that I work with, wherever it may be in the world, they'll come to me.
Mm,
So I will adopt and coerce them, shall we say, not force them into using the unified
yeah.
rules. So there really is no difference. Yes, of course, you're working, you know, a lot of times I'm doing seminars out there trying to develop the local referees and judges, getting them on the same page so they understand. But generally, yeah, I'm pretty fortunate like that. Even though I'm working in other parts of the world, these people take the advice and they'll stick to the unified rules. And I don't really have to. There might be some subtle nuances somewhere, but in general, by and large, they're absolutely sticking to the unified rules. The judging can be a bit sometimes, you know, when you're dealing with people who are, they just don't get the reps and they're less
Yeah.
experienced, and they may not fully, like I said, they've never sat down in a training environment and had somebody teach it to them and break it down to them verbatim for 2 or 3 days solid. But like I said, by and large, you know, the great promotions that I work with, I love that part of it, having that freedom to do it. And the best part about that is, especially with this sport, it's the places you go and the people you meet, right?
Hmm.
That's one of the best things about this sport. It's great when you're doing, you know, all the high profile fights and you're getting to travel the world. That's fantastic. But it's all the friends and people I've met all over the world. That's the real icing on the cake for me.
And if anybody has an intense interest in really understanding some of these rules and not just the reffing side, but the judging side as well, Mark, of course, has his officials training program online. I did it. It was amazing. Highly recommend. So just wanted to give a quick tip of the cap
Thank
to
you for that.
some.
GoddardMMA.com. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's where I started my training. I mean, I have since gone on to do other class work and flew in a representative of the ABC and did like 6 hours in Kansas City. But where I started was taking your course, and it was a tremendous help to me. And I still go back and use it as a cheat sheet every now and then.
No,
Just
and I'll
honestly.
tell you, man, not just saying it, but you know, that's noted. It's noted amongst officials. I think fans of the sport see that, you know, when you threw yourself into the commentary side of it and you were immersed then and like you took it on board you know, that's commendable entirely, you know, you took it on board at your own time and expense to go and find out and research exactly what it is you're talking about. And it's better for the fans, it's better for us, for sure, it's better for us. So yeah, kudos.
Well, thank you. I've actually really, I'm a bit of a nerd at heart, so I've really enjoyed kind of getting into the minutia of the academic side of MMA, I guess you could say. Uh, One of the questions that always comes up, and I think still um, we don't fully wrap our minds around, and I don't expect you to give away any sort of secrets here, but maybe some insight or some light shed on what how we can think about these things. How are mistakes handled by the commission in general? I mean, you don't have to give any specificity here, but when someone sort of screws up and it's sort of generally agreed upon, not just by the fans, because that's usually not the case, but their peers sort of say, yeah, you know what, that maybe was a call that didn't go your way that night. You made a mistake. You're a human being. You made a mistake. How is that handled by the commission? And are there ever instances where judges or referees are, I don't know, reprimanded or punished, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll separate that out if you like. Look, because we work in a lot of countries where there's no commission, and I'll say this first and foremost. Look, I'll speak on my own behalf. I'm not going to speak about other officials, but I'll speak on my own behalf. And I'm not afraid, I'm not perfect. You'll never hear me say I'm perfect. I never use the word perfect. In fact, I always advise officials when I do the training and something, oh, I was perfect. I go, please don't say that, because there's too many people out there waiting to jump on you. I'm a human being. I've made mistakes. I'm probably going to make more mistakes. I don't fucking want to, but chances are I may make some mistakes. But the trick is twofold. Number one is, like I said, you see me, Herb, Jason, all these people every week. We're doing this every single week. We've done it thousands and thousands of times. And, you best believe, like I said, if I made a mistake, nobody knows quicker than me,
Mhm.
and I've done it. You've saw me. I've spoke about it publicly if I've made a wrong call, and much to like I said, people don't understand that. We can be punished for that. A lot of commissions don't like officials doing that, even accepting and admitting a potential mistake. So, like I said, the important thing is we're not perfect. You can't be perfect. But what I train and teach to other, if every time you'll see me step in that cage, you best believe I'm trying to be. I'm chasing. I believe perfection is something you can never grab hold of. You can never get there. If I get to destination perfection, I'm going to stop, because I don't think it's realistic. But that's what keeps me on my toes. Even after 20 years as a ref, I'm always gonna try and be perfect. Unfortunately, like I said, things could happen. It does happen for some officials. They could have an off round, they could have an off day, could be anything. And there's always a post-fight meeting, there's a debrief. And depending on the area you're at or the commissions, they do take their own action. People have got this notion that judges come in and they don't care, they don't give it. I can tell you now, there's nothing that's further from the truth, because myself and that band of select top officials, referees and judges, we have to check ourselves, because we do nothing other than talk about fights. We get together a day or 2 days before the event. We're out having dinner, or after the event having a beer. All we do is talk about fights, and sometimes it's a bit like, what am I doing? But we absolutely take this role 100% seriously. We're working hard to get through the misconceptions, and if we do make the difference between me or my colleagues and everyone else is that we're on show. Our perception of reality, our perception of our job is on show.
Mhm.
So if we've made a mistake, or even worse than that, most of the time it's people think you've made a mistake, it's on show. And when you look at, every other person's job or every other person's job on the internet, they're not on show for us. Unfortunately, it's just part and parcel of the modern world, what you do, and you accept the things that come with it. But by and large, we are extremely conscious. We're extremely self-conscious. We're very, accommodating and supportive of our colleagues. And we know, like I said, some of the conversation we have behind closed doors, we're going to rib each other or take the piss, as we say in
Yeah.
England. So if something's gone wrong, we'll do it. But on a very serious front, I can't overemphasize enough just how serious we take this and how much constant conversation, critique, and training goes on behind the scenes to try and get us to be the best we can possibly be for the fighters and the sport.
I can certainly personally identify with the idea of like your work being just anytime I'm working, it's now in it's to the public. It's to a lot of people. So when I screw up, and of course I screw up as well, uh it's just there on display for everyone to point at and pick at and sort of bring even more light to. But one thing that's different between what the officials do and maybe what the broadcasters do is that, we get applauded when we do a good job. We get a lot of positive attention. And I always say this about the officials, like on your best day, pretty much no one says anything. That's how you did a great job when there's just crickets, right? Especially and the judges as well. It is an incredibly thankless job that you do with very little glory to it. So I guess my question in all of that is, how do you personally, what's your strategy for handling all of the negativity? Because in my mind, being an official, your negativity far outweighs the positivity that you receive. Like, I feel like mine kind of gets balanced out. I get told good job, I get told bad job, but you get a lot more bad than good.
Yeah, here's the thing. Look, yeah, because that's just the sign of the modern world. And
Yeah.
look, when it comes to being an official, like I said, and you kind of touched upon it, if I have a good day, and a good day means doing my job, just doing my job, and the sole reward for that is that people won't talk shit about you, and that's cool. I'm entirely at peace with that, and I don't need any form of commendation or adulation. Look, I've said this before. When somebody goes and drives a bus and he drives it round his route and he's a professional bus driver, is there a crowd of people fucking applauding him when he gets off the bus for not crashing it? No. If someone's an ambulance driver and they do their job and they're saving her, are there people there no, I don't need that either. But like I said, unfortunately, your work, or our work in particular, is the judges always laugh and take the piss out of them because we're stood there on camera with your name there and everyone can see what you look like. It's just part and parcel of it, and like I said, with the negativity and the stuff that comes with it, you just have to tune it out. You remember the dog shit analogy in the park? I told you about the blanket.
Yes.
I was saying it the other day, when you see, and here's the thing, I'm entirely convinced that the vast majority of people out there, they're just good people. They're not asinine. They're not abusive. They're not like but it's those. It seems overwhelming because those are all the ones that need to talk. Those are all the ones that are going to tweet. All the how many accounts are there on Twitter? 2.5 billion. So if I get 20 or 30 or 40 people talk shit, I don't give a fuck. It means nothing in the reality. It's lost in the ether.
Yeah.
And you can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. You've just got to, like I said, I've got too many things to be thankful for. I'm doing this job. I'm traveling the world. Twitter doesn't decide what jobs Twitter doesn't assign me. Twitter doesn't pick me to work on events. My relationships, my experience, my standing, and the same for my colleagues. You've just got to, the negativity and the social media stuff that comes with it. It's an unfortunate part of it, but like I said, I have, and as you said there, it seems overwhelming at points. It does seem overwhelming, but I get just as many notes and DMs and stuff of good, appreciation, and always try to respond to those people, and even privately, and just say thanks. But it's part and parcel of our modern day world, and part and parcel of just because I'm performing my job on TV, you're on that platform and you're open to what comes with it. And here's the thing, Laura, like I said, I was saying it yesterday to Mike. He said the same. I've had 1,001 detractors. I've never fucking met one. I've never met one. Funny that. You know what I mean? They're all
That's a
going to
good,
talk
yeah,
about it, but come and tell me. Come and tell me.
yeah.
But too many things. Focus on the positive. Like we said, if I go to the park for a picnic with my kids, I'm not going to put the blanket next to the dog shit. I'm going to put it next to the nice grass where there isn't any dog shit.
Yeah.
Always, always onwards and upwards. Focus on the positive.
I feel like I finally have figured out a pretty good strategy for doing that for me. And thank God my husband despises social media. He's not on social media. He couldn't give a single fuck about social media. It's why you don't see him on my Instagram page, but rarely. But it's interesting having my son come into an age where his friends are now like, oh, let's Google Burke's semi-famous mom, and dealing with it through his lens is a whole different thing, and something that, you know, I never, like you, I wouldn't say fate got me here, but maybe, actually, you know what, I probably would say fate got me here. There are a lot of things I never could have controlled that got me here, so I would say fate got me here, along with a shit ton of hard work. But this was one aspect of this job that I never really saw coming, is how it would affect my son.
That's the hard part. How old's your boy?
10. He'll be 11 in December. Yeah.
So he knows what the internet is. He knows how to act. I dare say he's got no accounts anywhere, but
No,
he knows what and you'll
his
see
friends
like
do is the problem. His
yeah,
friends, yeah.
and that's the tough part. Look, that is the tough. That's why you've really got to have the fortitude to separate, because if I catch one of these people one day, it won't be pretty. It wouldn't be, you know. I don't want it to be like that. I don't want to have to do it. And when I say these people, we're not talking about throwaway shitty comments. What I'm talking about is, you know, the internet. People are quite clever. They've actually got to my children. By a process of research and stuff, they've got to my children. They got to my daughter. My daughter's a minor, and they've targeted her and sent, messages and stuff, which is fucking pretty hard to swallow.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's why you'll see on my social media, it's entirely professional. I don't put my children on there. I don't put any personal stuff on there for that reason, because it's just a fucking horrid place. So sometimes, like I said, when it gets to, your children in particular and yourself being a parent, it invokes a different emotion in you. But like I said, you got to get past it, right?
Yeah.
You just get past it and you move on. Because like I said, please believe me, sometimes when it seems overwhelming, they are still the vast minority. They're the vast minority. When someone's a dickhead, okay, they have a thirst to speak. When someone's a calm, normal, considered, confident person, they don't have to tell anyone. So that's why it seems overwhelming, because all the dickheads have to say negative things, but trust me, they're far outweighed by the decent, everyday, positive people in this sport. And
Agree.
Don't worry about it.
Agree. You've been doing this a very long time. I wouldn't even hazard to guess the number of fights that you have officiated. It would be in the many, many thousands. What, at 20 some years in, keeps you passionate about still doing this? Because it can be, the travel can be a grind. The fight nights are very long, and people don't realize how long some of those days are for those of us who are involved in the show, and particularly you guys. So what allows you to stay passionate about doing your job and still doing it at this level?
You've nailed it in the question. What will continue to do is passion. I love it. I grew up in this sport. I've covered every facet of it. I've been a competitor. I've wiped the floor and kicked people's ass. People have wiped the floor and kicked my ass. I've been on both sides. I've been a coach. I'm a practitioner. I've been everything. And then I've had this amazing journey that's come at me through, listen, like I said, without a lot of dedication and hard work that people don't have no idea about. But like I said, I'm always looking to focus on the positive. Like I said, look, I'm looking for weekends off. I'm in a good position. I've worked incredibly hard. I've got this, what a lot of people see as a dream job. You know, they think it's easy. Please believe me, it's not easy. I have this amazing job. I get to travel the world and see people. That's what I think of, you know. And like I said, has there been some time? There has been some times when things have got overwhelming at points because of this, like I said, that asinine, you know, acidic fraction of social media. It can be tough. It can be, you know, unless you've been there, you know, people, without being condescending, if you haven't done it, you won't understand. But like I said, I try and just flip it on its head. If I catch myself being overly indulgent in that, or being thinking about the negative, you got to stop it short in your mind and go, remember all the positives you've got. Like I said, Twitter does not book me. Twitter does not decide my future. Twitter does not decide what I do. I decide what I do. And you just flip it on its head and be really thankful for everything that's good and going well in your life. And
Yeah.
that's how I look at it. And the passion for the sport, I love MMA. It's like if you have a row with your partner, fucking that's it. No, I'm out. I don't want to see you again. And you go off for a few hours and you cool down, you hear, I'll come back. Look, it was an argument. I love this sport. I love it dearly. And it's given me 10 times more than it's ever taken away. And that's the way I look at it.
I've tried to articulate this before, and it's so hard to do, why people get so wrapped up in the sport, but there is definitely something different I feel about it that reaches, I don't know, reaches inside you to a very, particularly when you have participated in it. I think it reaches inside you to a part of you that maybe would not have existed otherwise, or that you would never have known otherwise, other than for MMA. And so for me, it's like, I wouldn't know myself the way that I do had I not participated in this sport. And for that reason alone, I just can't imagine my life not touching it in some way.
100%. And it's very true what you said there, especially when I started teaching, well, not just teaching jiu-jitsu or martial arts or MMA, but when I started teaching officials, because it forces you to look in. And then when you have, like I said, when you've had the overwhelming deluge of all the shit and all the people, you see all this negativity in the world, you're like, I'm glad I'm not like that, you know. What if I didn't do this job? Maybe I'd be like those people. And I'm just, it's another reason for me to be so thankful that I'm not like that, you know, like I said, because I've had all these opportunities and all these things. And like I said, they far outweigh the negative connotations that come with it. That's all it is, you know. It's a love of this game. I don't know how much longer I've got left. Probably quite. I mean, I'm 50 now, so I don't know, 20 years as a ref, maybe another 10 years. We'll see. Nobody knows what's around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm just determined. Listen, smile and look back, because nothing pisses them off more. Keep doing your job, be thankful for it, and onwards and upwards.
100%. I'll leave you with this one. One of my favorite, people always ask me what my favorite part of my job is. And the closest I've come to describing it is what I can assume maybe a labor and delivery nurse feels like, to be that close to one of the biggest moments in someone's life, to physically be there when someone is achieving the height of what they have always wanted for themselves, is incredibly beautiful and intoxicating. And it's something that's really, really difficult to describe. I know that you have had those moments. Maybe Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje would rank up there for you. What do you have, a specific number one, or do you have one that at least comes to mind in terms of like, this is a moment I'll never forget as a referee?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just kind of goosebumps when I'm thinking, like you said, it's another reason to be, like you said, you know, that what keeps me driven, like I said, it's the gratitude I have, and that I'm standing 3 foot away from fucking magic. That's what I'm standing away from. When I see Max Holloway at 4 minutes 50 fucking 9 seconds of the fifth and final round at UFC 300, do what he did. And here's what I'm going to say. My heart, just as the adulation goes out to my respect and heart goes out to Justin Gaethje too. Yeah, there's two sides of this coin. And what an amazing, obviously an amazing moment for, you know, for Max, stuff like that. You see that, and I'm stood there 3, 4 foot away from that. How dare I complain about anything? How dare I? And all the other fights and working in big arenas, I've managed to do all the famous arenas and world championship fights. I remember another thing, like you said, about the sport touching me, knowing it from a competitor. It's an emotional thing. I've been tearful a few times in the octagon, but people have never seen it. Like you remember Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya, singularly probably the greatest fight I've ever refed, because I watched two people towards the end of the fight, Kelvin in particular, go to a fucking depth, an unimaginable depth in a place that mortals can't understand. And again, it comes back to it. I stood 3 foot away and watched that happen. That was a very emotional moment. The Max Holloway thing, it was a great fight, but the crescendo was the defining moment, the final moment, that KO. But when you look at, I've had so many fight of the year contenders that people don't know of. And if you don't know the ref, yes, Utopia, Chad Mendes, Aldo too. I've done Johnny Hendricks and Carlos Condit. I've done Jiri Prohaska and Glover Teixeira in Singapore,
Oh,
and won the belt. I mean, what the fuck? We're here going through all these things. And like I said, when you get all those things, we don't focus on the negative. It's an entirely positive thing, an amazing place to be. And I'm just happy to keep going.
well, you're giving me chills as well talking about, and hopefully this conversation has given us another 5 years of Marc Goddard. We'll take that 10 years to maybe 15, because we need people like you in the sport
I
for
hope
as
so.
long as possible.
I hope so.
I hope so too. And I thank you so much for your time today, Marc. We really, really appreciate you coming on the channel. Guys, if you can, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Helps us out so very much. Big thank you to Marc today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Laura. Cheers.